extreme weather predicted for the next 90 days. Kiunga District Hospital calls for support. Central Province Village Court funds axed.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Bartulo.
Good evening and welcome to Sunday's news. Patient care at the Kiunga District Hospital is slowly gaining momentum despite a critical shortage of manpower and equipment. The hospital requires more nurses, an ambulance and anesthetic equipment. It has partnered with other stakeholders to ensure it delivers a high standard of health care to patients.
Patients at the Kiunga District Hospital endure hours of waiting to be served. The hospital has 3 doctors, a first in the history of the hospital, but needs more nursing officers to attend to patients. There are no nurses manning the new surgical ward, and as a result, it has been used to house measles patients. Hospital's Administrator Graham Hill highlights some of the challenges they face.
We badly need a new ambulance. At the moment we've got a 4-wheel drive that we call an ambulance, but we transport staff in it. At times we have to transport bodies in it as well. So that's one of the challenges. We need a new anaesthetic machine. We need a mobile X-ray machine. We don't have one. So at the moment some patients have to stay in the ward for 2 or 3 days because they can't be moved to our X-ray department. Waiting for an X-ray.
The general outpatient also requires urgent attention. The same can be said for the maternity ward, which caters for 80 babies born every month. But through partnership with stakeholders and teamwork, they are able to improve patient care with the limited resources available. Despite these setbacks, changes are slowly taking place. The hospital was able to acquire vital equipment like the state-of-the-art X-ray machine and the sterilizer in the operating theatre.
We are slowly gaining momentum. But when you actually look at it, this is a level 4, and if we can provide some form of service up to level 5, that's according to the national health standards, then that would be good.
Member for North Fly, Boka Kondra, paid a courtesy visit to the hospital. He proposed a new blueprint for the hospital to alleviate some of the problems. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
The National Weather Service has warned the country to expect flash flooding and landslips in the next 90 days. National Weather Service Director Samuel Maiha has sounded the alarm, urging the government to allocate funding immediately and prepare relief utilities.
Papua New Guinea is currently experiencing a weak El Niño, but the impacts of its opposite and traditional subsequent, La Niña, which mainly creates heavy downpour, is predicted to cause disaster. The amount of rainfall in the next 90 days is predicted to be substantial enough to cause the erosion of roads and bridges and diminish the harvest of agricultural commodities.
I don't think the disaster relief amount would go to the kind of amount that we would need in a case of a La Nina-induced flood.
The reality of the next 90 days can be compared to past natural disasters that claimed many lives and severely impacted basic services.
You see the landslide that killed about 50 people. That happened during the La Nina. You see the Rabon Queen, it happened during the La Nina.
Here's a preview of just some of the catastrophic events experienced in recent years. In July last year, the National Disaster Centre reported at least 5 villages inundated by the Purari River due to heavy downpour in Gulf Province. In Southern Highlands, Kagwa Erave and Nipa Kutubu endured many landslips that halted transport services and affected 30,000 people. In 2013, the Buluma Bridge leading to Hoskins Airport was washed away by floods, which resulted in the suspension of flights.
We should be involved in climate-compatible development. That means the roads should be such that they will withstand the kind of rains like flash flooding. Because you don't want to have a case where you have constructed all these roads, and a La Nina comes and you have these bridges washed away, these roads washed away, you know.
In the 2015 national budget, 213 million kina has been allocated for the repair of roads and bridges that might get washed away or damaged by natural disasters. And with large amounts of rainfall expected in the coming months, coupled with the high chances of roads and bridges getting washed away, the maintenance bill may run into the millions. Tokana Hasavi Jr., National EMTV News.
The national government's annual funding of 469,000 kina for village court official allowances in the central province has been withdrawn. The money was not given this year, and the provincial government may be forced to allocate provincial funds for this. Central Province Acting Provincial Administrator Edward Killer said the sector plays a big role in the community level and must be recognized.
The 469,000 kina national government funding for village court officials' allowances in Central Province has been withdrawn this year. About 1,050 court officials in 67 village courts in the province will be affected. Acting Provincial Administrator Edward Killer says the funding was withdrawn by the national government, but the village court officials are hoping the provincial government will allocate funds in the provincial budget to cover for it.
So it's very important for local government to recognize one of the sectors in the province or in the division or in the district, that's village court area.
Mr. Killer said this when presenting a computer, printer and office accessories to village court officials from Tolokuma Gold Mine. The materials were purchased by Waitape LLG SIP funds. The Tolokuma Village Court has been ranked first in the province in terms of its services to the people of Goilala. Waitape LLG President Joe Gelu says the national government reduction of LLG SIP funds from 500,000 kina to only 100,000 kina this year will greatly affect the 5-year development plan. The national government has allocated 14.4 million kina this year, aiming to increase the number of judges, court circuits in the provinces and districts, and the extension of village court allowances from 7 to 11 officials per court. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Stay with us. More stories coming up after the break. Welcome back to the news. The 2015 academic year is just around the corner and students are preparing to return to school. MTV caught up with some students who gave an insight into what their goals are for this year.
The Back to School 2015 fever is already here with students and parents alike getting up for the academic year. Edasha Pera from Borabo Primary School believes developing an interactive culture with parents and teachers alike for encouragement and valuable teaching will help students to excel in academic learning. She says education must not be taken for granted. She believes in her parents' encouragement and wants to study hard for this year.
Education is in my own hands and I want to make sure that I want to finish my school and come to my first year in uni.
These boys, Joseph and Michael Badia of Third Year Primary School, said the teaching that comes from parents always directs students' learning, developments and other behavioral patterns outside of the school. They urged fellow students to refrain from disobedience and study to champion for their parents and communities back at home. Cynthia and Valerie said spending too much time on social media such as Facebook by young girls in Papua New Guinea is not beneficial.
You guys have to stop and I think focus on your school.
Yamena Kakeli, a UPNG student who meets his own school fees through the informal sector, urged students to refrain from negative behavior.
I'm appealing to the all students of Papua New Guinea to be good potential leaders later and they have to struggle and achieve the goal.
Meanwhile, some parents urged others not to teach children by using physical force and verbal abuse, but rather to teach them proactively so they are more willing to learn themselves. Jacob Nero, National EMTV News.
Guns and other weapons still in the possession of individuals in the autonomous region of Bougainville pose great risks to communities and is a hindrance to the peace process. A local businesswoman from Arawa in central Bougainville raised this concern, saying individuals still in the possession of firearms and used them to threaten people whom they had issues with. She says such attitude is uncalled for and is a breach to the Bougainville Peace Agreement. The autonomous Bougainville government and the Bougainville Police Service have been called on to conduct proper monitoring and allow justice to prevail. A lack of awareness in schools and communities have been identified as a major force to early teenage pregnancy. Obstetrician and gynecologist Dr. Joe Vilossi from the Arawa Health Center in the autonomous region of Bougainville says more awareness is needed for young women to avoid such risks. Fabian Hakelitz with this report.
Limited understanding about cervical cancer poses great high risk to young women. Obstetrician and gynecologist Dr. Joe Vilossi said lack of awareness by health workers is a root cause. Awareness that must target youth groups in schools and sporting clubs. Dr. Vilossi made these comments in relation to increased cesarean cases of surgical operations performed at Arawa that has serious complications on young women.
And sports clubs, there is groupings of youth, of young people. We need to get down to that. Even during the sports time, they should do some awareness. So I think there's a lot of awareness that we still need to do.
Young women are getting married at early age and can be attributed to several factors. The trend has now changed with the use of modern and digital technology like mobile phones and internet usage, social media, Facebook. Also activities young women are involved in like sports. As a result, at the time of pregnancy, there's poor attendance to antenatal clinic by young women.
Delay the pregnancy until they're fully grown. But that is very hard to achieve, as at the moment we see a lot of young people getting married at a very young age. As well as that, we have a lot of activities which young people are engaged in that assist the early contact of young people, which makes it very difficult to avoid sexual relationship.
Although it's individual's decision, there's need for proper control and monitoring. Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
The liquefied natural gas carrier that was custom built for the PNG LNG project has officially been christened as MV Papua in Shanghai, China. During the ceremony, the wife of Prime Minister Linda Babao O'Neill gave the blessing and officiated the traditional seafarer's christening on vessel. PNG's ambassador to China, Christopher Mero, highlighted the importance of the occasion and thanked ExxonMobil for the contribution to PNG as a major gas exporter. The 290-meter-long vessel will be chartered by ExxonMobil to carry LNG to China. Turning overseas now, and there are fears Islamic State terrorists are plotting a wave of attacks across Europe, Rome specifically named as a potential target.
Along the famous beach at Nice, a staggering show of solidarity. And on the streets of Toulouse, more than 120,000 people paying silent tribute to the 17 victims of the worst terror attack in France in more than 50 years. The quiet broken only by sporadic rounds of applause. There were similar scenes around the country. In Nantes and Lille. Ordinary people united against terrorism and determined to defend the French spirit of liberty. Charlie, 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 Charlie. Today, stories from those who came face to face with the gunman. Michelle Catalano is the manager of the printing business where the Kouachi brothers made their final stand. Taken hostage, he was allowed to leave after tending to a bullet wound suffered by one of the gunmen.
When I noticed that one of them was wounded, I felt that he was tense. I offered to look after him, so he sat down. I helped with a plaster. At one point I said, "Look, can I leave now?" And they finally said, "Yes, okay."
And as the pair brought their siege to its violent end, he knew what the brothers didn't, that there was another man hiding inside the building.
I turned to go and I thought, should I tell them there's someone else in the building? Tell them about Lillian being there? That was the most difficult thing for me.
And that ends our news segment. Coming up in Trukai Sports, we take a look at trap shooting. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. In preparation for the Pacific Games in July, world-renowned Australian Olympic and world trap shooting champion Russell Mark and his wife Lauren are in the country conducting a two-day coaching clinic for our shooting team in Port Moresby. During the two-day coaching clinic, participants had the opportunity to run through basic stance, mounting and aiming techniques. Come July, our shooters will face arch rivals Fiji and New Caledonia.
Winning gold at the 1996 Atlanta Summer Olympics and silver on home soil at the 2000 Olympics were among some of Russell Mark's achievements throughout his trap shooting career. The trap shooting fraternity in the country were privileged to have both Russell and wife Lauren, also a skeeter shooter, in the country to conduct a two-day coaching clinic for competitive shooters in preparation for the Pacific Games in July.
You've got about 120 degrees. You want to cut. Just let everything relax.
Participants had the opportunity to run through basic stance, mounting and aiming skills during the program. The aim of the coaching clinic was to polish trap shooting techniques and equipment maintenance before, during and after practice. 4 participants have already been selected for the Pacific Games, with an opening for a possible 4 for selection in PNG's shooting team. A final team will be announced in February and will be participating in tournaments overseas leading up to the Pacific Games. Come July, our pistol and trap shooters will be facing tough competition from rivals Fiji and New Caledonia. Scholar Sengi, National EMTV Sports.
Day 2 of the National Coaching Conference ended with participants eager to start exercising their newfound knowledge with their respective teams. Facilitators from Australia and the High Performance Division in Port Moresby also expressed a lot of satisfaction and praised the coaches and managers on their positive response.
A lot of focus recently has been on the development of sporting infrastructure. However, the PNG Olympic Committee is also investing in another very important aspect of sport, people. In particular, the athletes, coaches and managers. Now 140 national coaches and managers, 14 PNG endorsed of course by the Justification Committee, as well as staff from the High Performance Training Division here in Port Moresby have attended the two-day workshop, and they spoke about a number of things. Now these included strength and conditioning, the talent identification and screening process, nutrition and hydration. They also looked at sports psychology and recovery. Now, following this particular conference, there will also be monthly follow-ups to gauge how well and evaluate how well coaches and managers have learned over the past 2 days and the plans that they have for the future. Now, at the end of the day, the plan is to have Team PNG, the best planned, best prepared, and best performed come the 2015 Pacific Games. Jeremy Mogi, National, EMTV Sports.
To cricket overseas now, and the proven performers have been issued a challenge to deliver Australia a home World Cup triumph.
A return to the old Aussie green and gold for cricket's World Cup.
Oh, come on.
Selectors took a gamble naming Michael Clarke. His first match will fall 9.5 weeks after hamstring surgery.
I've obviously got my work cut out. I'll do the work. It won't be from lack of work that doesn't get me there, that's for sure.
George Bailey is Clarke's deputy, ahead of Test skipper Steve Smith.
The more leaders you've got within the squad, the better, I think. So, I think Steve Smith, the stuff that he's done the last couple of weeks has been absolutely outstanding.
Stephen, playing 3 Test matches or leading Australia in Test cricket, I think he's pretty tired, and I think he will relish the fact that he can just go out there and play cricket.
Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood are the New South Wales pace pair, Test teammates and now World Cup buddies. The young friends couldn't be happier.
Yeah, we've obviously played a fair bit of cricket together. If one of us is not injured, the other one usually is, so it's good to be on the park together for a few games in a row.
The other combination that will ignite Australia's Cup hopes, explosive openers Dave Warner and Aaron Finch.
Hopefully, we can get an innings where we both go off. It is always
tough when you got two guys who go after the ball and one of us have to play that anchor role.
It's not a real licence to go out there and try and flog it, but I suppose on a given day at times, sometimes you just get off to a good start.
For Pat Cummins, it'll be a childhood dream come true when the ICC circus rolls into the MCG on February the 14th.
For it to be in Australia, I mean, I grew up watching the World Cup, and to think that I'm going to be part of one in my home country is going to be pretty special.
Eyebrows were raised when the erratic Glenn Maxwell was selected. Last night he was certainly on, scoring 66 off 44 balls in the Big Bash.
And that's all we have for Trukai Sports tonight. The weather details up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather information is brought to you by Tablebirds.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region, Port Moresby and Daru, cloudy with showers then rain. Showers and rain for Kerema, rainy periods for Alatau and showers and rain in Popondetta. To the Momasi region, showers and rain for Lae, a few showers in Madang, afternoon showers and rain expected in Wewak and Vanimo. Over to the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, you can expect afternoon showers and rain. Afternoon showers and rain as well in Kavieng and Rabaul, showers and rain for Kimbe, and showers and thunderstorms for Buka. And in the Highlands region, all centres to expect widespread rain. And that has been National MTV News this Sunday, the 11th of January 2015. Do watch Talk Picture at 7 p.m. this evening as Minister for Public Enterprise and State Investments Ben Micah explains the state of emergency on electricity services. Pleasant viewing. Have a safe working week. Good night.